When I think about Black history, which is really American history, there's so much that we can learn from the past.
We support all entrepreneurs and that there is a space for every type of entrepreneur in our ecosystem.
It's a celebration to raise the awareness of the contributions of African Americans.
Honoring the past, present, and future. Visit greenvillesc.gov/Black History for more.
To celebrate Black history and accomplishment, the Post and Courier once again presents this series of video interviews featuring 12 dynamic leaders to know in South Carolina. We talk with people from all over the state about their efforts to advance social justice, celebrate Black culture and enterprise, address community needs, and create a better world. Our videos will be released monthly on the Post and Courier website through January 2024. To watch and to read our 12 profiles, plus essays on Martin Luther King Jr., go to postandcourier.com/Black History. Join us again this year in learning about some of our state's remarkable change agents. Taiwan Scott, so nice to be with you.
Yes, finally.
Here on Hilton Head Island, beautiful Hilton Head Island, in Mitchellville Freedom Park.
Yes.
We're on the edge of it, overlooking the marsh and the water.
Beautiful, beautiful.
Some big houses on the horizon there.
A lot of history here.
A lot of history. We are in one of the earliest post-Civil War settlements for African Americans.
Yes.
Freed after centuries of slavery.
Yes.
And this is the place. And we're sitting on the Toni Morrison bench, aren't we?
Perfect location. I'm loving it.
It is. A bench by the road.
Yes.
So I have a question for you. You are an African American real estate agent on Hilton Head.
Yes.
And I don't know about your cognitive function, but mine is getting a little dissonant when I think of that. And I'm just wondering how you manage as a real estate agent on Hilton Head, which, as I'm sure many of our viewers know, has lost a huge portion of its Black population. It used to be a
Yes.
Yeah.
Just watching what's been happening to the community around Hilton Head. Actually, how I got into real estate was these late night, no money down programs, Carlton Sheets.
Oh, there you
go. And they basically said, if you want to make some money, get a real estate license. And this no money down programs, of course, did not happen here in Hilton Head. So I really just started looking at what was happening to the community and noticed how the Native Island community weren't really benefiting from their land.
Right.
So my goal and my angle has always been to enlighten and inform the community of how they can continue holding on to their land holdings. Noticed that the local ordinances and zoning was really preventing the Gullah natives from being a part of what was happening around us. So more of an educational, coming from an educational side.
Interesting.
Versus outright selling.
Right.
Selling the property, I feel as though we're selling our heritage. And it's a touchy situation. It really is.
Right.
But if the families have made up their mind that they will sell, my goal has always been to try to get them as much as they can for it, because once it's gone, it's gone. And just experiencing what has been happening, just when it comes down to when a Gullah Native owns property versus it exchanges hands and someone outside of the community owns it, and the opportunity that's afforded to them or was afforded to them through the local government.
Yeah. It's amazing. So you're really combining your business goals with advocacy.
Yes.
Basically.
Yes. With dealing with heirs property, it could be years.
Yeah.
Before something actually happens.
And heirs property means there's no deed on the property,
yes,
right? The family has no proof of exactly who owns it.
Yes. And I think the biggest property I dealt with had over 150 heirs scattered across the U.S. and
wow, 150.
easily 7 years. Worked on one that dealing with some families out of Ladies Island that took almost 9 years. So it's not for the money.
Clearly.
It's not for the money, but
But are you able to make a living doing it though? I mean,
I don't depend on real estate.
okay, but
I really don't.
So it's a source of income, but it's not necessarily your
Yes,
end all
I've
be all.
always looked at the real estate as an opportunity to put me at another level, if and when it does happen. But I won't.
Well, it's
depend on
already
it.
kind of happened.
Yes.
I mean, right? To be fair, it's your work and your knowledge of the island and your collaboration with local communities has brought you some attention.
Yes.
Not always good.
Well, sometimes they say the squeaky wheel gets the grease,
Yeah.
the oil, and it really took being outspoken. And sometimes you get placed in a situation, never knowing that was the intent. But you find yourself in a position where it's bigger than you.
Yeah.
It's a community, that's been, in my opinion, has been targeted and taken advantage of. So not having a clear source of, I guess, help, it kind of put me into the position where, I sought to seek help elsewhere. Just personally dealing with trying to get an establishment open, my business open. Took literally 7 years to get open. Just fighting the local government, and interestingly enough, the politics around it, I couldn't find an attorney that would be willing to help us and represent us. It literally took someone, it took me 7 years or 6.5 years, and finally found someone out of Charleston, who came in and said, hey, I'll help you, and I'll help represent you.
Interesting. And so this was a challenge to start a business on property you own.
Yes.
Very near where we sit, really.
Yes.
Not too far, just up the road. And you have this property, and it's commercial property, right?
Yes, it's a mixed use, marshfront
Mixed use.
property.
And so now you wanted to create a kind of public space with
Yes.
some food trucks and essentially activities.
Basically
and
a hub for entrepreneurs. A lot of young entrepreneurs, young in business, they're not able to afford storefronts.
Right,
So the
right,
goal was to give them an area to kind of station, pop up and present what they have, and try to bring the tourists into that area,
Right.
where we are.
And you're not only working with African Americans, you're working with the Latino
Yes,
community too,
Yes, definitely.
which is sizable.
Yes,
Oh.
yes.
Interesting. So you're wearing multiple hats. You're a real estate agent, you're an advocate and a kind of political activist. You're an entrepreneur, a business entrepreneur who started your own businesses,
Yes.
and you're providing a platform for others. And what else are you doing? Surely there's more. It's just not
so
three balls
much.
you have in the air. Truly.
No, it's always something though.
Yeah.
I get calls a lot from just locals wanting me to help them get something on their property. I helped a lot of folks when it comes down to mobile homes.
Yeah.
Because sadly a lot of people can only afford mobile homes. Just kind of going through the ins and outs with zonings and ordinances and things of that nature.
So Hilton Head Island has 5 or 6 historical African American communities here. Or is it more than that?
There's more than that. There's actually a lot more than, it's 11 or 12.
11 or 12?
I can't call them offhand.
Do they all survive?
Yes, they're all surviving,
They're all
trying
surviving.
to survive. We now have markers within the community.
Yeah.
Letting the community know that you're now driving through a historic native community.
I noticed that. It's
good.
actually very nice.
Yes.
It's bold and clear and
But we're still trying to fight to get, the process of getting the businesses
Yeah.
in those communities. It's
Right.
one thing to highlight the historic neighborhoods, but other than driving through and seeing a bunch of mobile homes, where's the economic opportunity?
Isn't it a little bit of be careful what you wish for, though? I mean, if you do draw commercial activity to these neighborhoods, are you not risking degrading them in their cultural integrity?
There should be, prior to the towns being incorporated, we basically lived on a portion of the property, which is usually in the back, and we had small businesses, mom and pop stores in the front.
Right, yeah, that was
So
typical.
some type of mixed use type of development, not big and broad, but small and low key, and keep the historical significance of the community. Because again, the taxes are increasing. You know, when you have a family whose taxes go on in their property from $2,000 in 1 month in 1 year to nearly $5,000 the next, I mean, they have to be able to do something to generate income.
Otherwise, they're going to sell and leave, and then we see the further
Or
degradation.
losing on tax sale.
Or we're losing on tax sale if they're not paying their tax. It doesn't take much. You don't pay your taxes all of a sudden.
1 year and a day. Sad.
Yeah,
Yeah, the state has to change that.
yeah.
I mean, if they really truly care about the culture and the Gullah community and the significance of the Gullah community, then that needs to start from the top.
They have to put their money where their mouths
Exactly.
are. Yeah.
Exactly.
And it's true that you're really kind of leveraging a historical practice.
Yes.
The idea that people live off the road and then there's a storefront by the road, or something like that. Yeah. There's this mix of commercial activity, and you see this in lots of other places in the world. Yes. Including other. I mean, even in our historic cities downtown, you had the shop down below and the people lived up above.
Well, we're all in the corridor. I mean, tourism is the largest income producer for the state of South Carolina.
Right.
I mean, Congress
and
named the
Hilton Head
historical, especially Hilton Head.
Yeah.
I mean, the Gullah Geechee Heritage Corridor. I mean, we're in that. We're in the base, we're in the heart of it.
So you're not only advocating on behalf of African American homeowners and landowners to help them protect their property, or in any case profit appropriately from their property. You're also looking to promote and conserve the culture itself.
Definitely. They go together.
Yeah.
Without the people, there's no culture.
Right.
Simple as that.
And there it is.
Yeah.
Why? You were born in New Jersey.
Yes.
Oh my God! I just told us that. Well, I've revealed the truth.
Born
now.
in Jersey.
Born in Jersey.
As long as I can remember, Hilton has been home. I've been coming
family
here. My grandmother was born here, born in Harbortown, Braddock's Point, and every summer, as long as I can remember, my mom would load us up from Jersey and bring us down.
Yeah.
I can remember all of us packed in a little Chevy Chevette coming down to Hilton Head. And I really enjoyed that. I mean, it was like Gilligan's Island. It was like, all these vines everywhere and just secluded in dirt roads. And I mean, the Indian shell rings, and you just seen all of that,
Right.
And
The beach.
The beach. I mean, everything. It just really just stuck in. This has always been home for me. Okay. Always been home.
This is where you feel
Yes.
your soul is manifest,
Yes.
most profoundly here, I guess, right?
No matter where I go, it's like it draws me back. This is home. You have to come back here.
So tell me about your route. How did you get here, and how did you decide to be here full time and to do this work?
Okay, my mom moved us out of East Orange. I think I was 13, 14 years old, and we moved to Hampton, Virginia. And I actually went to middle school and high school in Hampton, Virginia. But again, summers was always here.
So you crossed the Mason-Dixon line.
And just wanting to be closer to my grandmother, I went to college in Charleston, Charleston Southern University. And again, this has always been home for me, just being as close as I can be to my grandmother and my family. This is where I grew up. I mean, I would come down here from up north, and I take off my shoes and I'm running around barefoot. I just loved it. I mean, it was the life. It was the perfect life. I learned to swim right in the creek.
No wonder you're comfortable offshore 40 miles in your little boat.
Oh, not 40. But we go out there.
Okay,
yeah,
30
I love
miles or
fishing.
something
I
like
love
that,
fishing,
right.
yes.
Wasn't there any kind of, you started doing this when you were a kid, I get it, so it was very familiar to you. But as somebody who grew up in New Jersey, you're going back and forth between two pretty distinct cultures,
yes.
cultural experiences and social experiences and everything. And didn't that throw you a little?
No. It was like night and day. It was like when you're in the city, it's lace up the boots, and you stomp in the concrete. You get out here, you take off the boots, take off the shoes, and you run around barefoot. You're swimming in the creeks. You're casting, you're fishing.
So for you, it was just you. It was just the life you knew, and it wasn't.
It's always been in there. I know where the heart is. They say the home is where the heart is, and this has always been home for me.
And what did you major in at Charleston Southern?
Sociology, religion. And how did I get there? I don't know. I really enjoyed.
I see how those two things go together.
Yeah. I mean, enjoyed, reading the book and, looking into history and talking to people. And It just kind of clicked, and I don't know, it was that time.
Made sense to you. Did
Yeah.
you have overall a positive experience?
I did.
Charleston?
I did. Good experience in Charleston Southern, I would say. Joined a fraternity at the time, Phi Beta Sigma, and some of my fraternity brothers today, one recently came to the island, and he reminded me. He got into a situation at the university, and he said, "You remember when you went to the board and you spoke on my behalf? I didn't remember that." He said, "You were in front of the whole board speaking up on behalf of me." So I guess there was some issues that was going on with him, and I was there in the forefront.
So you were a rabble rouser even back then.
And I just went from one to the next. But I guess it's always been in there, the unjust. When you see it happening, you have to speak out against it.
You have a zero tolerance threshold for injustice, I guess. It says.
I mean, especially when it's so obvious and blatant.
Yeah.
And I've seen a lot of that here on Hilton Head.
Yeah, especially here and along the Sea Islands in general. Once upon a time, it was all black. These were isolated sea islands.
But you have the way the system is designed when it comes down to the land management ordinances and zoning. One of my first jobs coming here to Hilton Head, I worked for a Native Islander. He had a Gullah flea market, and it always stuck in my mind. He would say, zoning is the newest form of racism. And you see it, you feel it, you experience it, and you just got to speak out against it.
The other thing that struck me, I've learned this sort of over the years covering some of these issues, is there really is a kind of cultural difference. In white culture, everything is, and in European culture, even, the colonists who came, everything was about property. You own this land, you marked your property, and you put a price on it and a value on it, and then you could lease it or whatever. It was all transactional,
Yes.
And individual property ownership was a big deal, and of course helped make those folks pretty wealthy overall. It was all about owning property and controlling property and dividing property and subdividing property and
With us,
profiting.
it's communal.
But right,
It's communal.
in Gullah culture, it's a totally different way of thinking.
Yes. Yeah. It's amazing to see that the culture there almost guarantees that the next generation will have a place. So no one person owns it. We all own it collectively together, and that it's amazing to see that something like that still happens, but a system has been implemented that makes that life pretty much difficult and very burdensome.
It's like they're irreconcilable in some ways. The rules that are established are those old English-based rules, and Gullah communities don't live by those rules exactly, and yet they're forced to. They have to.
Exactly.
They have to, but they're at a disadvantage because they weren't
Yes.
before. The colonists
And it's been
knew
used
what to
against
do.
them, and it continues to be used against us,
Right.
because that's the way the system is designed. Make everybody have their piece, and you don't have to deal with everybody. I mean, it's very strategic.
Yes, and of course, heirs property is further complicated by the fact that land values have increased so much and now provide a real opportunity for a lot of families. But not everybody in the family will necessarily agree.
And that's the hardest thing.
Which is
You're
the
never
hardest
going to
thing.
get everybody to agree. And that's the sad part. But when you're able to put it together, and you can have everybody on the same page, it's difficult. It definitely is difficult.
But it can be done.
It can be done. It can be done.
That
And
must be
once
very
you get
gratifying.
and you get generational wealth from that.
Right, exactly.
I mean, it opens up a whole different opportunity, and that's where the education part comes in, versus the I need mine now. And that's
Yes. Well, black people are generally more patient, I think.
that's very patient, and to a limit. When we say enough, but you know what? I think the time is definitely changing, because you have the next generation that's coming in, and they're saying, What do you mean I can't do nothing with the property?
Yeah, right.
You know, I'm going to challenge
is
this.
enough.
Enough of that.
Yeah.
You know, everybody around me is doing something with the property and we can't, or we have to spend tens of thousands of dollars just to use our land. No, that time is, that, because I say so, time, that's over.
Yeah.
Yeah, I grew up hearing that.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, and
Do
that's
I
what
say
you're
because I say
doing
so.
here on Hilton Head. I mean,
Yes.
you're really one of the people leading that fight.
But it's
locally, so.
it's not an easy task
No.
because you're dealing with different mentalities, especially with my own people. Is, you know, you don't want to make too much noise. You don't rock the boat. You know, but
And
enough
yet
of
you
it.
have to rock the boat a little
Yes,
bit.
we have
even
to
just-
survive.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it literally took nearly 7 years for me to get a business open on my property. You know, and so many times
After a lot of rocking the boat.
yes, yes, and a lot of publicity. You know, and it sadly it took going away from the island, getting national publicity and national attention on Hilton Head before we really started seeing the changes.
Interesting.
You know, but we've had, you know, town employees that were here for 20, 25 years, you know, in that same system.
Yeah.
You know.
But my understanding is you think that things are getting noticeably better.
Yes, I do.
The government here now is a little more amenable and open.
Different administration, and it's, you know, it's hard to let your guard down, you know, because you've seen so much for so long. But there's definitely a feel, a vibe, more communication that the new administration definitely wants change, definitely wants to bring the Gullah community to a level playing field. And that's all we've been asking for. You know, nobody's looking for handouts. We're looking for a level playing field. Give everybody an opportunity to be able to sustain and remain here, especially on their ancestral lands.
Right.
You know, so it took some shaking up, you know, but
So you're optimistic?
yes. Yeah. If I had to do it again, I would.
Yeah.
When I was going through it,
You weren't optimistic.
oh my goodness, I wanted to give up. But you know, it really took a strong foundation, a strong base.
Yeah.
My wife,
Yeah.
you know, my children. At one time, you know, I was considering giving up, and I was going to move the buildings that the government had already approved to be there. And my daughter says, "Daddy, if you move it, we'll move it back."
Oh.
You know, and my son, I think he was probably 7 at the time, 8 years old, and he asked me, "Well, Daddy, is it because we're black?" You know, and don't worry. I mean, just listening to him, it's like, "Don't worry, Dad. Everything that's in the dark will come to the light." You know, so that was my motivation. And
How did you answer him when he asked if it's because you're black?
I think at the time I said, "Sadly, son, I think it is because we're black, but we're gonna change that. We're gonna change that." I mean, some tough times. I mean, I remember coming in the house and tears coming in my eyes and coming down, and it's like I give up. I'm just gonna submit and do what they tell me to do. And my wife is standing there saying, "No.
You can't.
You've come this far, that's it. Dry the tears, you're finished. Okay, now go back out there and do what you need to do." It's not about you, you're speaking for the community. It's bigger than
It's
you.
bigger than you.
You know?
And you've found even a kind of spiritual path. I
Yes.
think that part of
Yes,
this
yes.
is informed by your own
God
religious
doesn't put
practice.
anything in front of you that you can't handle.
So this idea of coming into the light is
Yes.
just
Yes.
sort of a permanent
Yes.
thought.
That
fixture.
path that has been set, that you can't run away from. You know, and once you accept it and accept that you have a path that you need to take, and you have a goal there's a finish line there.
Yeah.
You know, and it's not easy.
No.
You know, I mean, you will be tested. You know, if you
have
have
been tested.
belief, it's one thing to say it. It's one thing to say it, but you have to show it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's what it truly comes down to. And it came down to me was belief that, you know, there's a bigger goal, there's a bigger outcome, and it's an honor, I feel, to work for God.
And your community.
and my community.
Well, Taiwan Scott, a remarkable story, and congratulations on your successes.
Thank
the
you.
long, dark tunnel and
Yes.
the light at the end of it that you've managed to enter.
Yes. Yes, yes,
And
yes, yes.
it's been great talking with you. Thank you so much.
Definitely. I appreciate you guys reaching out and just keeping the story out there and keeping it in the forefront, because I think, again, it takes those folks in the State House. Put the money where their mouth is. I mean, Congress said we're in the whole corridor, and we're here, we've been acknowledged for a reason. So do something to help sustain us,
Yeah.
and it can happen. And a place like Hilton Head is a prime example. If they can do it on Hilton Head, they can do it anywhere.
Yeah.
Because everybody looks to Hilton Head.
And you're not alone. I mean,
No.
there are communities up and down the coast
All over.
that stand to benefit. And that, indeed, all communities really stand to benefit from a strengthened African American
Yes, yes,
presence
yes.
in all
If
of
they
these
truly
places.
believe that our culture and our history is of significance, I mean, again, Congress passed it. If you truly believe what you passed, then let's do something about it.
Yeah.
Let's do something about it.
It's still going to require people like you keeping up the
Oh yes,
push.
they're there. Sadly, it takes some time when it affects you personally for you to be involved.
Yeah.
But sometimes we gotta look past that. Grandma, great grandma. Go out and say, hey, where's the property line? Go out and say, are you paying the taxes? Find out, because sadly we grew up in a community in a culture where we heard stay out of my business. So now we got to push that aside. No,
Yeah.
we need to know what's going on.
Yeah.
We're obligated to know what's going on.
Well, and somebody trusted
Yes.
has a better chance of learning
Yes, yes. And share it.
and
I mean,
sharing
if you
and
know
helping.
it, share it.
Right.
Got to put it out there. Adam, we
Thank
appreciate
you,
it.
Ty.
Yes, thank you.
Pleasure.
Thank you.
Thanks
Thank you.
very much. Great talking to you.
Likewise.